Hello, friends. Welcome to the Sarah and Kuthumi coffee chat. This will be our last coffee chat of the year. And then next year, because we're not going anywhere, we'll come back and tell you more. Every night about 7 or 8 p.m., I do a little stretches, stretchy poodles. I have two poodles, big ones, and not the little yappy ones, but the big ones. That's important to me. They're athletes, they're beasts, they're creatures. I love them. I do some stretches with my dogs, and then I meditate. And from meditation, there's a door, and I walk into it, and I enter samadhi. And I stay there until I wake up in the morning. And about just before the sun comes up, we go to the beach. I'm in my tree house. It's a tiny house way up high on stilts on a tiny island in the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean. And we go to the beach and swim, play, whatever, while the sun comes up, because I have an eastern facing beach, so we get the sunrise. When I had my place in Mexico, what a lovely experience that was. When I had my place in Mexico, I got the sunset. So the title of this coffee chat is Soft and Unbothered, because that is my natural state of being. I am soft, deeply, deeply soft. My vulnerability, my open-hearted chest, bleeding heart is my samadhi. To reach samadhi and hold it and keep it requires a tremendous amount of vulnerability, of feeling everything, requires a tremendous amount of softness. All the videos about ungrouping and moving beyond any kind of group dynamic may come off a little harsh, but what I do is I tap into the people watching it. So like in our private groups, they don't need to hear that message. They don't have a rough energy anymore. I used to have a rough energy until you know the difference. It's really, you just don't know. It's your baseline. You think that rough energy, sarcasm, cynicism, and skepticism are normal behaviors, not your natural state, which contains no cynicism, skepticism, or sarcasm. Sarcasm is a defense mechanism to feeling everything. So I don't do any of that anymore. I used to. But you know, Kuthumi came to me, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. We have our contract ends June of 2025. So we have some time left. We've got some programs coming up for sovereign beings, vulnerable, open to all, like a big red ball. No posturing, no addiction to perception, no case of the mistaken eye. That's just the baseline. That's just the normal baseline that we can build upon. Without that baseline, I can't do anything. That's not my job. So Kuthumi came to me and said, we need to make it big and hold up, not a mirror, but a disco ball. He said, are you ready? We're going to hold up a disco ball of this rough energy. So I animated that, but as soon as I closed the computer screen, after I put out the active consciousness, as soon as I closed the computer screen, I'm back in my soft life where I don't harm anybody, or, you know, to the best of my ability, don't, you know, slaughter animals. On a rare occasion with real honor, maybe. But that ahimsa is really about how you treat yourself, the nonviolence of treating yourself. So the rough energy comes from a deep unworthiness and guilt and shame that comes from leaving oneness, but more so what a lot of us, myself included, Kuthumi included, what we did in Atlantis. Um, we tried to come back. Yeshua came back to try to help make it right, and he did a lot of groundwork. Um, you know, um, I remember my lifetimes. I remember my lifetimes in Atlantis. I remember the experiments that were done to create the standardized human form. I remember feeling terrible about it and definitely like the villain in that story, and allowing that unwavering I am forgiveness, dragon clarity to wash over me when I realized in this lifetime what I had done so I could get to where I am now. Um, our portion, our role in this ungrouping and magnifying this rough energy just to show you what it looks like so you can choose for yourself if you want to be soft or not, is over. Aaliyah, who does our videos, is also a wonderful facilitator and teacher. She's young, but her heart is, and not but, she's young and her heart is pure. It's when Kuthumi messaged me about her, he said that she has this beautiful heart and potential to really soften in the facilitation that she does. And I have watched her grow and bloom, and she has an ungrouping program she's doing next month. It's Aaliyah's Dream on Patreon. I ungrouped when Moria showed me what it was and how to look at it. Not how to look at it, but different angles that I wasn't seeing because I was limited in my human perspective at the time, and allowing myself to make my own decision choice to ungroup, which is kind of what we've done here. It's an opportunity. Um, but I've been doing that since 2018. I'm done helping people ungroup. Yeah, the people who come to our programs are soft, sovereign beings. Soft, sovereign beings. And any rough energy you've seen me project is an act, much like Jesus, Yeshua flipping over the money changing table. If you don't know or like Jesus, Yeshua, or Yeshua's stories, this is probably going to be a really not nice place for you. If you don't like softness and vulnerability. So I guess I would tell you your free trial is over. We have since 2018 put up all our core courses at no paywall, which means it's free if you need it to be, if you don't have the resources right now, or you just want to check it out and you don't know. I mean, I used to pay for things and then realize this isn't for me. I'm like, and I can't get a refund. So that way, if you get something from it, great. Someone sent us a $7 donation this morning, and I just want to say thank you to whoever you are. That's $7. It's not about the money. It's that number 7 you sent my way. You. Every day I sit down and I cry, not tears of frustration for a separated eye, but just it's just earth and people and new energy, just Gaia leaving. And it's also beautiful. It's also perfect. I'm soft and unbothered on a daily basis. So I acted out the play for you guys. I flipped over the money changing table, and then it's up to you. The real work happens when we show up on our small, intimate, sovereign collective calls called Conversations Create. Yesterday, we went really deep into the dynamics of subtle energy and how subtle energy works. It's so necessary to understand how subtle energy works to bring energy and consciousness together. You can't weave them together. They cannot coalesce unless you understand subtle energy and you know how to play with it and command energy from the I am consciousness rather than the human allowing and allowing and allowing. I was incarnated in the time of Yeshua. I was his daughter. I spent my life with him there. He's been with me on this journey. I've tried to downplay that because I don't want it to become a cartoon. That is, anytime something sacred is made into a cartoon, it breaks my heart. I'll just be honest. But it's really interesting, the level of Maya delusion, cosmic delusion. Someone will be in our programs for 4 years and then they'll send me a note and say, hey, have you ever heard of Yeshua? Do you know what some good book recommendations are on that? And I sigh and I say, okay, I'll send some book recommendations, but everything I teach is that I remember my lifetime there. I remember my lifetimes in Atlantis. I remember the lifetimes where I was a warrior and killed people. There's nothing I haven't experienced or expressed in human form. That's why it's so time for something new to express. I am consciousness incarnate. That also can't be done unless your Kundalini is activated at the base of your spine. If you don't like that word, at least there needs to be a pranic flow. One of the first in-person events I did, I realized that realization and all consciousness concepts were only conceptual. And the people we met, it wasn't happening from the neck down. And then I realized, oh my God, that must be my job. So that's kind of where we're going. And we have a new book out called The Rhythm of Further by Kuthumi, myself as Sarah. I don't really feel Lauren is undiscernible and undetectable most days, but she's there. Didn't get rid of the human. The we go is in play. I contain not a human, but all of humanity. That's another piece is you just get to the point where, when you're choosing realization, it has to be all about you. Everything's all about you. But once you grow up, you realize it's all about humanity and you contain all of humanity. So it's still all about you, but it's a broader picture than just meeting your day-to-day needs. People have emailed me, what about alchemy, turning lead into gold? That's what we're doing. We're turning duality into new energy. That's the true alchemy. And the transmigration of awareness is what I'm talking about when you go from little I in the last lifetime to containing all of humanity. So Soft and Unbothered. We put that book out for free on our website. You just go to the reader portal and you either log in or register and instantly you have access to that book. It's in paperback. The Era of the Magus and the Magi's Definitive Guide to the New Human Species is now in Spanish, Espanol, thanks to Guillaume. And the Era of the Magus is in Polish, thanks to Anna, Deep Bow. They did it out of the kindness of their hearts. It was a donation. There is a German website that I had no input or control over, nor do I understand German, so I don't know if the translations are good, but it's there. It's nos.me. Thank you to the people who did it. I just don't know the quality of it because, it was just done. So there's that. And on the Patreon page, which will be 1 year old on October 16th. So that is loaded up with tons of free material. All right, so what's the free material? You have 2018 to now. thumbs up. Magi approved. Kutumi's always given the thumbs up. Magi approved. So you have all the core courses. It's a long list. It's a lot of hours of video. Aaliyah did a great job cleaning them all up. You have that. You have the Rhythm of Further book. And everything else is pretty low cost on the website. So it's all there. The Patreon page has 11 months worth of free content. But that's only 10% of what we do. You're only seeing the top of the iceberg. That's the 10% of what we do. None of it will hold or sink deep unless you get on a call. I understand that that's not going to be 500 people. I don't have the capacity for that. Maybe 20 more. I would say we have like 40 people who are really committed to Sovereign Collective, playing in the subtle energy, bringing energy and consciousness together. So Kuthumi had me rattle the cage a little bit to shake out maybe 20 people who are looking, souls were calling to us saying, I'm looking for a space. I'm looking for the Sovereign Collective. I'm looking for more. So 90% of what we do is in the calls, learning from new energy and each other. And we don't have a rough energy in there. The space rejects rough energy. And a lot of people have said that to come in, they've had to get used to the creative tension. The creative tension is like saying, if you go to our Magi's Definitive Guide to the New Human Species, the last chapter, Samadhi and the End of All Suffering, we talk about how you have to stay in the creative tension to get to Samadhi. And because when the creative tension gets too much, you animate the fictitious personality to give yourself a break. Staying in the creative tension will help you create the third nervous system, which doesn't operate in a dualistic manner that's rest and digest and animate fictitious personality, fight or flight, fawn. We see that one too, fawn. It's the same thing as the aggression. So there's that. On October 15th, we will be doing, because I have my Kuthumi contract here, Kuthumi and I, and you, if you're wanting to do it, we'll be doing the 28 days to the end of all suffering. If you're still suffering as a human individual, it will address that. But really, it's going to address the deeper layers of end of suffering for all of humanity and creating a new human species around it. For Kuthumi, I asked him, I said, okay, Kuthumi, what do you want to do to finish out your contract? And he said, the most important thing is the premier quality of the new human species is the end of suffering, right? The end of all suffering. So we're going to dive deep into it. It's 28 days. There's going to be a chapter a day. It will either be a written chapter or an audio. I'm going to try to do both every day. Kuthumi would like to do both audio and a written chapter, and then we'll make it into a book. We'll sell it to you guys. You'll get a little piece of the information. And you can only do so much there. And then after that, and that's open and available. If you want to do it, it's $77 per month. You can just sign up on Patreon and you'll get it. I don't expect a lot of you to do that. But it's there. So we're going to do the 28 days to the end of all suffering. December, we're doing Kuthumi, you, and Sosi Hoon, that you have to come on the calls. It's sold out. In December and February, and then in March, we're doing the Divine Blueprint, Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, and there's one space left. You have to come on the calls. You can't just lock yourself in a room with Wi-Fi and watch another channel. From anywhere. It does, it opens the door, but it doesn't, there's something missing. And it could be that it does work for you. If it does, that's fantastic. I just see that most people that come here, there's something missing, a connection, an intimacy with self through intimacy in gathering sovereignly. And yeah, and then in May, Kuthumi and I are going to Germany to do the Prisms in the New Light in-person event. I'm really excited about the in-person event. It's definitely not a money-making thing because the travel costs and everything, and we're not filling up a ballroom, you know. But it's important. The template that I hold in my body, when I'm in person, I can do more. I can do more. I've noticed, because we've done enough in-person events, a huge difference. Because coming to an in-person event, you can't hide, you crack open. And it's not a ballroom, so you can't sit in the back row. We're not sitting in rows. We're sitting in a circle, all at the same height. There's no giant stage. So it creates a space to really embrace your humanity and be in a safe space. I guard it with my life to make sure you guys have a safe space. And the energetic dynamics are set up that if someone's in a rough energy, I love when people give me advice from the depths of suffering. I'm in Samadhi. What advice do you have for me? The free trial is over. Free trial is over. So in May, we'll be doing that. So you have all your buffet of no cost or low cost offerings and many opportunities to come play with us. Patreon being the easiest way to access this, and come on the calls. You'll see a difference. You'll see a difference. I don't have the space for 500 of you, but we could create a couple more call times for maybe 20 or so. To prepare for the calls, I spend 2-3 days preparing the energetic nature of the space. And then it takes me about 2-3 days to recover on the other end. I put myself in my natural state, which would be an altered state to everybody else, to do what I'm doing now. Soft and unbothered. Soft. Soft. Having these two dogs. There's Jack trying to get on the couch. We could see him. He's like a little potato right now. After the resurrection, Yeshua didn't have the physical form that we'll maintain, but he would come visit me. And and animals were always following him around. And I was about 13 years old. And being a 13-year-old girl is hard enough because of the hormonal programming from the standardized form that starts taking place. It's also for women when our empathetic, psychic, and woundy creative talents start to come in. Hey, Jack, I'm on the phone, man. That's Arjuna, the main character in the Bhagavad Gita. But animals would follow around. Hey, and it wasn't like a thing back then to really have a pet dog. Some people had them, but they were working dogs, herding dogs, protection dogs. He brought me a dog, and I had been stashed away in a community that I didn't much care for. It was too rigid. It wasn't loose enough. I eventually got moved in that lifetime to a Druid community in what is modern day Wales, England, United Kingdom. But at this time, I was in a place with hard beds and hard rules and rigidity, which I don't do well in. I haven't in any lifetime. And he brought me a pet dog, and the people I was staying with took it away. They took it away because pets were unclean and not allowed in the bed. So no wonder I have two poodles who sleep in my bed, who bliss out with me when I enter that samadhi state around 8 p.m. every night. It's the God self absorption, the involuntary absorption of the God self. The creative tension becomes the vibration or frequency, probably not the right word. The rhythm, the pulse of this creative tension becomes the samadhi or bliss. The vulnerability of not having an I identity ego that is there to protect you. When you let it go, you become extremely, extremely vulnerable. You have to feel everything to attune to subtle energy, which is the last chapter in the Rhythm of Further book. And Keiko put some notes in there. She has a beautiful blog called darkdiving.com, and writes about all the stuff we're experiencing in the new creation of the new human species. But for her, it's very sovereign. It's very her own expression, and I just really love it. And she's shy and humble, and the humility is staggering, so I'm probably embarrassing her. That's the other quality that the people who come on the calls hold, is a deep, deep bow and humility, a bowing to something that's so much greater than any of us, but also us, the new energy, the Christ consciousness. No one's trying to, they're understanding it. They're standing under the Christ consciousness rather than trying to put on a pair of combat boots, hiking boots, and step on top of it and declare victory over it. It's understand, not stand over, overstand, right? So that's the difference. If you want to know if you're in humility or not, are you standing on top of something and declaring victory? Or are you beneath it in awe, going, oh my God, behold this Christ consciousness. I am soft and unbothered. That is my divine right and my natural state of being. All else is just an act of consciousness in service to who shows up here. So today, when I tap into the new energy reservoir and those who are also tapped into the new energy reservoir, I can bring the message for them. If I tap into other streams, then I'm going to act out those streams through this dynamic expression of my biology, which I care for, love, and treat as if it were God itself. As if it were God itself. That's how well I treat this biology. If I just came on here and was soft and unbothered every time, people wouldn't keep coming back. They'd be bored. They're used to theatrics, costumes, masks, pokes and prods. that is not my true creator nature. That's not where I came from. Sure, I had Moria. Every poke and prod he gave me was with love. Every time he was honest with me, and it broke my ego's little bitty heart. Oh, you're having a feeling, dear ego. He would say, the amount of love that would pour in through the cracks, my broken ego. I have the real wealth. I have the true abundance. And that is knowing myself and knowing God and knowing the big picture and walking with my dogs in silence, watching the sun come up every morning and laying down at 8 p.m. every night with peace in my heart. Peace in my heart. I haven't stood on top of anything and declared victory. I am on my hands and knees, bowing at something so much greater than me that is also me. Everything else is just static. It's the out of tune radio. I go in and tune it and make it sharp and punchy because I can and I'm good at it. That's not my true creator nature, and it's not yours. It's not yours either. So those are our offerings. Kuthumi has a variety of you that he wants to work with. You don't have to come here to do that. You just need to be open. Say, Kuthumi, I'm ready. And he will show up. You don't need me. You don't need me. You don't need anybody. St. G, he said, I'm going to work with people who really want to bring energy and consciousness together. You don't need a middleman for that. You don't need me. You don't need anything else. You don't. You just say, St. G, I am so deeply passionate about bringing energy and consciousness together. Will you work with me? I will stay open and vulnerable. That's all that it takes. You don't need me. You don't need anything else. I study mystics, people who have reached these states of being that I find myself in. And a lot of them come from a lineage, I do, but there are also some that did it on their own. They have no teacher, no lineage. I love my teachers. I chose it this way. But it is possible. It is possible. But you just have to sit down every day and do it, right? I'm fascinated by these mystics who did it on their own. Yeshua had came across John the Baptist at one point that activated something within him to prepare him to do what he did so beautifully. He had the witness of Mary Magdalene when no one else could see what he was doing, and they all betrayed him and gave up on him. She was there, and his mother too. And all those years in India training with Babaji and Babaji's sister. she's quite a character. Babaji's sister. She's like, don't forget to put me in there. To have a Yogananda show up and say, look, the greatest thing he showed me is not just the mature materials and how to shine your light, but it's how to take a pickaxe to the things that hold you back, chipping away at it until you reach the wellspring of new energy that lies underneath all of the hard, rocky ground. He put science and all of Yeshua. I'm moving my computer, sorry, because these books sit under my computer to hold the integrity of everything I do on the computer. So this is the second coming of Christ, the resurrection of the Christ within you. It's a 2-volume series. Yogananda wrote a whole lot. And he, inspired me. When I wrote my first book, it was so funny. I rented an Airbnb to go write the book. And the whole house was covered in Yogananda stuff. And I was like, this is weird and over the top. And mind you, the people who own the house were really pushy spiritual people. They were grouped. They were grouped from the Self-Realization Fellowship. It's another group. It is. But in this book, he talks about all of Yeshua's teachings through his acts of consciousness. And he also puts all the science. So he talks about how Yeshua performed miracles, but from being able to act, the way he performed these miracles, like turning 5 loaves of bread into enough to feed 5,000 and 2 fishes into enough to feed 5,000 mobile loaves and fishes, 5 loaves of bread, 2 fishes. Yogananda writes in each chapter the story of what Yeshua acted out and then how he did it. And he talks about how his access to subatomic particles is how he created the loaves and the fishes, multiplying. So it's a really substantial book. It's not loud and punchy, and it's not going to entertain your human. But once the human folds into the whole as a needle in the haystack of God, you stop needing to be entertained or poked or prodded. You stop needing to be entertained or poked or prodded, and this deep curiosity. I'm just so fascinated by these mystics who experience this indirect experience. More and more of the people we're working with are starting to have the involuntary kriyas. Kriya just means action. It's an act, and yoga means union, right? So active union. Kriya yoga would be action for union, right? It just means action. So are starting to have these spontaneous movements in the spine, involuntary motions. So I started having these involuntary spinal movements in 2012. So 14 years, my Kundalini fully activated in 2014. In those 14 years, I've had a variety of disembodied beings point out a few things that would be helpful. But now that it's starting to happen for the people we work with from down here, in total humility, I'm doing some deeper dive research on that. I'm going somewhere to meet with someone, and so I can be a better facilitator. Never stop learning. Never stop learning. Soft and unbothered. So the free materials are going to stand as it is. Kuthumi wants to say the free trial is over. And if you buy donation with a low baseline just to meet our expense needs, running the space gets more expensive every day. just to cover our baseline, and maybe I can pay myself a little bit at the end, which would be nice because it's energy. All the no paywall materials are up. Our latest program, The Rhythm of Further, is in an interactive book form that's free, but that's kind of it. And I will come back with a public video for you guys next year. So I could be soft and unbothered with all the other soft and unbothered, curious consciousness explorers that make this space what it is. I am in love with you. Kuthumi says, Namaste on Earth. Namaste on Earth. And whether you connect with him through our writings, readings, or programs, or you just put your hand up in the air and say, dearest Kuthumi, I would like you to blow up my shit so I can see it so clearly. Be careful what you wish for. And he says he's there ready for you at any time. No middleman needed. No middle woman needed. He told me the other day, he said, oh, Sarah, if you were a man, a white man over the age of 50 with gray hair and glasses, you would do so much better on this YouTube thing. You would do so much better on this YouTube thing. And he says, do not fear. You dance circles around them. And I just thought it was so sweet. The reason I can dance circles around is because of him and all of the time, effort, and energy he's put into my expression experience in this space. And all I had to do was pay for it with my commitment to finish this job and create passageways into this kingdom. We are Sarah and Kuthumi. We are soft and unbothered. Hopefully our disco ball shook out a few people. Wake up, wake up. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Do not go back to sleep. Do not go back to sleep. From the depths of my beingness to yours. We'll see you guys in January. Tell you all about how it went. If you want to come to the 28 Days to the End of All Suffering program, just show up on the Patreon page and it'll be clear if you can use your brain to read the simple instructions. I so relate. I went through those years where I just couldn't. It's like trying to read anything was so hard. Now I can devour something like this. Thanks to Kuthumi's magic mind materials and mind mapping materials. He's always getting it in there. Yes, Kuthumi, we love you. You're so good. Oh, I'm going to miss him so much when he leaves. It's totally different than the Moria relationship. I deeply, deeply miss him. I knew who I was before he showed up. So it's not like I'm losing a piece of myself. But these soulmates that we have and the true love. Just $7 donation person who I don't know who you are. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I felt it. I felt it. It could be $1 million from someone who wants to put their face on in a movie. And it wouldn't feel as good as that $7 you sent me this morning. All right. See you guys. If you're just doing the public stuff, see you guys in January. Enjoy the books. We put so many out over the last 4 years. Enjoy the books, the audio. You know, if you do the Era of the Magus, you get the password to get in to get the audio channels too. There's so much in there. It's a gift that keeps on giving. All right. See you guys in January, or any soft sovereign being is always welcome to join one of our calls. There's no commitment. You come, you try it, you don't like it. No big deal. You're not going to hurt my feelings.